Alright, well, it looks like we are live. Just double checking some things. There we go. So hello everybody, this is meteorologist Andrew Pinero with a special live stream right now. So some new data came out about the climate change chat. And that has just made me want to do a little live video. So actually let me post this in the live chat right now. Let me get this down. There we go. And here we go. So I'm going to post right now the link. So anybody that wants to watch, I have the link out there so you can follow along. So in this, I'm just going to go over a couple of things real quick. This is directly from the NOAA, or National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. And there's some interesting things. This was posted just today. So going over some things here, there's a 27th Annual State of the Climate Report. Confirmed that the 2016 topped 2015 as the warmest year in 137 years of record keeping. That's quite interesting because in 2015, or in 2016 last year, we confirmed 2015 was the warmest. And the same thing in 2015, we confirmed that 2014 was the warmest. And I think they talk about that here as well. So yeah, the last 3 consecutive years have broken global warm temperature records, which is interesting, especially since 137 years they keep records for. So a couple interesting things here I want to talk about. Notable findings in the report that they talk about here. Greenhouse gases were at the highest on record. Major greenhouse gas concentrations, including CO2, carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide, rose to new record high values in 2016. And for those that want to get into a little bit of nitty-gritty, the 2016 average global CO2 concentration was 402.9 parts per million, an increase of 3.5 parts per million. So you're thinking, all right, that's small, really small parts per million. But this is globally, and this can cause even just slight temperature variations. There were some interesting documentaries that I watched also. 6 degrees, there were some things in there I don't entirely agree with, but small changes in temperatures can cause big things. So the next bullet point here, global surface temperatures was the highest on record, aided in part by the strong El Nino early in the year 2016. Combined land and ocean surface temperature was record high for a 3rd consecutive year. So this is going back to 2016 broke the high temperature record, then the year before that, 2015 was the previous record, then 2014 was the previous high temperature record. So we'll see how 2017 comes out when we have this discussion again in a year from now. What else here? Average sea surface temperature was the highest on record. According to 4 independent data set analyzed, the record-breaking globally average sea surface temperature for 2016 was 0.65 to 0.74 degrees higher than the 1981 to 2010 average. So lots of numbers there, but overall the sea surface temperature was higher than normal. Which there's another point here that they talk about. The higher sea surface temperatures, when we talk about the tropics and hurricanes and tropical storms, the warm ocean temperature, that's the fuel for some of these, or for all of these tropical systems. Tropical cyclones were above average overall. There were 93 named tropical cyclones across all ocean basins in 2016, above the 1981 to 2010 average of 82. And in this, the 3 basins they were talking about, North Atlantic and Eastern and Western Pacific basins. So overall, for those areas, this was above average. Let's see here. So with that, a couple other points I do want to talk about. Average season, yep, that's what we had. Global upper ocean content near record high. Heat in the uppermost layers of the ocean. So they can, oceanographers, they can see in a profile, basically, the temperature of the ocean from the surface very deep down. And the last part of it, near the surface, was the highest, or near record high. global sea level was the highest on record. The global average sea level rose to a new record high in 2016 and was about 3.25, 3.25 inches higher than observed in 1993. So you might also be thinking, that's not much. However, I have seen a lot of islands. These are small, very thin islands that a couple inches up is an effect for them, because that means there's not many years left until this entire island is overtaken by the ocean. I forgot exactly where this was, but I have seen a couple of different places like that. Arctic sea ice coverage was at or near record low. So with the highest ocean temperatures and temperatures overall, we are seeing record or near record low sea ice. The maximum Arctic sea ice extent coverage reached in March 2016, tied last year as the smallest in the 37-year satellite data record, while the minimum sea ice content in September tied 2007 as the second lowest on record. So the sea ice is shrinking and the temperatures are going up. So the sea ice shrinking is what causes the water to go up. It's also kind of a physics thing. When you have a cup of water and ice and you have it filled to the top, as the ice melts, the level is actually going to go down, because that's the way the molecules in water arrange themselves into the crystals. They expand out with ice. So when ice melts, they shrink. So that's kind of what causes the sea surface to go up. The melting of the ice can cause a little bit of effect, but not that much. And that's kind of a broad statement. There's a kind of little nuances that aren't entirely right there, but this melting sea surface ice, although it's not really a major player, is kind of a result of temperatures going up. Although, again, that's not a major point, and melting ice doesn't, because the chunk, I forgot exactly when, it was fairly recently, a chunk of sea ice broke off, but that melting sea ice isn't affecting things too much, and it's not really affecting the ocean sea level. However, this is all related to a couple of different things with climate change. And somebody on Facebook had a very interesting point that they made, which I just want to mention real quick. So, climate change isn't real because the climate's always changing. Kind of an odd statement, but yes, weather's changing, the climate's always changing, the world is never the same. So in essence, that kind of just says, yeah, climate change is happening. So the real question that I would love a discussion of, and anybody can just leave comments, just be polite and don't be rude to myself or anybody else on the comments. I would just want to say, hey, is this caused by human activity, or is this not caused by human activity? Not up for discussion is climate change, because we all know that's happening, and it's just the nature of the world. There's cycles, and these cycles are changing of climate. So that is in fact happening. But I do want to have a discussion of whether we think it's this extra warmest temperatures in 137 years, is that caused by human activity? I have done a video previously that kind of talked a little bit about some preliminary research I conducted, kind of showing that. It showed temperatures and CO2 level kind of rising together, but then the interesting part, after, say, the year 2000, 2001, it did flatline a little bit. So there was a little bit of a spike, say, I did from the year 1984 to 2015, I believe, the temperature data I did was. And it showed a little bit of a spike, but then once we hit, say, the year 2000, it started to level out. A couple different things that I'm hypothesizing about this that I'll do a little bit more research on is by then we were starting to take a little bit more of a serious look at climate change and trying to do kind of green efforts. Maybe that was an effect, maybe not. So more research needs to be done on this, and I'd love to hear from everybody what everybody thinks, whether you're just out there voicing your opinion, or you're another professional meteorologist like myself, climatologist, oceanographer, anybody. I just welcome any conversation, but again, polite conversation, nothing nasty, no need for vulgar language, or please don't do anything like that. So just up for discussion there. Let's see, anything else that we have here? Sea ice, covered that. There's an interesting little graphic on here. What are we seeing? So with this, trying to see if I can make, here we go, download the image. It's on that website, so if you want to watch it or take a look at all the graphics in this image with some different points here. It's not that sharp. Let's see if I can read any of it here. Canada, wildfire destroyed large parts of Fort McMurray, I believe that says, in early May and became the something natural disaster in Canada's, I guess, the biggest natural disaster in Canada's history. The image is small, so when I'm trying to zoom into it, it's kind of blurry. But if you can get a better image of this, or if NOAA releases a higher resolution version of this, interesting to kind of read through. So I just wanted to talk to you guys about a couple things with that. I'm just gonna leave it there and have discussions, and looking forward to hearing from everybody there. So this is meteorologist Andrew Pinero with another little climate change chit chat. Definitely leave any comments below, and again, remember, please be polite in the comments. Don't try and attack anybody, any other people in the comments or myself, and please leave politics out of this. This is not a politics discussion I'm trying to have. I don't care about that. What I'm trying to see is real science about what's happening to the planet. So, have a good evening, and I look forward to reading all your comments. Bye.